Hello and welcome to the video. This is looking at another radio controlled car. Now, a while ago I built a little thing called the Rockstar from Hobby King and popped an FPV camera on the top of it. Now that was kind of geared to crawl around, and I really wanted a little bit more speed, so I was very excited when I saw this on the Banggood website. Now this isn't a very expensive little bit of technology here, available both with and without the goggles. Without everything it's only about £45, but if you get the goggles like I have here, then it's a little bit more expensive. It's nearly £80, but for that you get everything in the box minus the batteries for the radio control to have a complete new aspect to your FPV radio control experience. So let me show you how mine's come. Again, this is the one that has all of the pieces in it, including the goggles. I wouldn't necessarily recommend that you get this one unless you haven't got any goggles at all, but if you're into the hobby and you've already got your Fat Sharks and stuff, then this might be fun. The suspension on here is very basic, and so is the car, but this is probably some of the most fun I've had with the hobby for quite a few months. And in those days where I can't fly around, this is just as fun as flying something like a Tiny Whoop indoors. So taking the top off, first thing you find is a very simple manual that just covers all the different pieces. You have a cable to charge the car. Then we have the radio control itself. Very basic here. Eachine, EMAX branded. Trigger forward and reverse. Very simple steering mechanism. No rubber grip or anything on there at all. The only other control really is just the trim for the steering. Then we have the little vehicle itself, much smaller than it looks in the pictures, and you can see there's a little FPV camera, an FPV antenna all hidden away, and underneath is where the LiPo battery is. Then we have the goggles themselves. Now pull these out. There are a couple of antennas, just one antenna in here really, so even though it's got two connections here for diversity, you just put that one on the piece that wasn't blanked off by the little red cover. Controls are super basic. It's a very simple kind of Fresnel lens arrangement, box style goggle that we've seen around for a long time. Then we have a little screwdriver and a spare screw. That's for the battery case underneath the actual car. And then you have this thing here, which initially I was thinking, what the heck is that for? But inside is an 18650 battery, 1800 milliamp hour lithium ion cell, and that's to power the goggles. So if I just look at the pieces individually, first of all, we'll start with the little car. Some of the specs on this. This has a little 3 amp electronic speed controller in here. Again, it's got the FPV video transmitter. You turn it on and off with the switch at the bottom, and you can just see there's the little button that allows you to control things like the band and the channel. If I just take the bottom off here, show you the battery. You don't need to do this to charge it. If you take off the canopy at the top, there is a little USB port that you can plug into, and you can charge the battery in situ. However, I did take mine out and use my TBS charger for things like Tiny Whoop batteries to charge it up, and that did it a lot quicker. The camera in here is a 600 TVL line CMOS. The power on the video transmitter is about 25 milliwatts. The battery is 300 milliamp hour 1S battery, and it will give you about 15-20 minutes. It's not particularly heavy. If I just bring the radio in, show you that, the bottom of that is 3 AA batteries, so you're going to have to find some of those from the drawer in the kitchen, pop those in, and then it should burst into life. Again, the controls on the radio are very basic. You have an on-off button, and then you have just a trim for the steering to make sure that it's driving straight. So let me take the top off this. You can see here the suspension is rather basic. There's just a very simple kind of swinging arm arrangement with a couple of springs at the back, and then to get into it so you can actually see it and charge it, you have to remove the canopy. It's held in place by 3 little pegs, so the trick is to undo the 2 at the back, then the whole thing slides forward. Car weight is about 87 grams with a battery, and it's powered by what appears to be a little brush motor at the back, so over time that will eventually wear out. So taking the top off, we can see more of how it all works. There's how the camera's sat on. There's the antenna for the video transmitter, the charging port. We have the button there, you can see much clearer. There's a weight on the front to keep the nose down. And that little red antenna there must be the antenna for the radio. Now, I got really excited when I first looked at this because I thought, oh wow, they've included a pan setup for the camera, and it isn't. It's just a molded plastic piece, and the camera fits on just with a friction fit. Now, there isn't a massive amount of room for a little servo in here, but I'm guessing that the intention is maybe to have a future version, or maybe they thought about it, and to have a panning camera on here, and that would have been fantastic. I would love to have seen that, because the way it's built, there is also room either side of the canopy, so you could swing the camera side to side and kind of look around, or maybe slave the camera servo to the steering servo so that you're looking into turns. The final thing to talk about then are the goggles themselves. Going through the specs, these again are very basic. They weigh about 390 grams. The face fit on them isn't fantastic. Branded again, there's no DVR in here. Goggles resolution is about 480 by 272, and the range of focus seems to be okay. For me, I'm slightly short-sighted as I'm getting older, so I need about a 1.25 set of glasses to read things close up, and the lens for me has to be right towards my face. Plugging in the supply battery powers up with the EMAX logo, which is a lovely touch, and then you get the screen, and the screen is nice and clear. It is very reflective inside. It isn't covered in any kind of black material, and that can be a little bit distracting. The controls are basic for kind of channel and band, but they do the job if you haven't got any goggles. So what's it like to use? It is an absolute blast. Some outdoor footage here, and I've roamed around the house as well and annoyed everybody with it, running into their feet and exploring all the places. Because it's so small and lightweight, it will take a few knocks. As I've said, this is plastic construction. It isn't really built for acrobatics or jumping, but running around, it's very, very fun. There is a wide range of speed as well. With a gentle pull of the trigger, you can crawl about a kind of crawler speed, and then a full pull of the trigger, and this thing will zoom about. Yeah, if you're actually watching it third person, it doesn't look that fast, but with FPV, it looks very, very quick indeed, and it just made me grin like an idiot. So in summary, what do I like? Well, I like the fact it's not expensive. It's not a ridiculously priced piece of kit. For kind of £45 to get the car and the radio, it's a great thing to, if you've got some spare money after the festive period and you're looking to try something out, I would recommend this in a heartbeat, particularly if you have FPV goggles already and you fancy getting something else that you can play with to maybe explore another part of the hobby. It is very easy to control. There is a wide range of speed. As I've said, the only control on the radio is the trim for the steering, and that seems to sort everything out. The servo appears to be a digital EMAX servo doing the steering, and that works really nicely. I've had a couple of instances where the steering appears to have been locked in one direction or the other, but kind of a quick twiggle on the steering and it's come undone. Very easy to set up and use. Charge the battery in the car and put 3 AA batteries into the radio and you're pretty much set. It's already bound, ready to go. It's set by default on channel Fat Shark 1, and that's the one that I use the most here, so all my goggles were using that. Once I tested out the goggles, I didn't really use them. I've been using my Fat Shark HDO2s, which are about 10 times as expensive as this little car, but provide a fantastic experience. The camera quality is fine, works really well indoors, really well outdoors, and this is perfect for indoor racing and exploring. Because it's relatively low profile, there isn't any twangy aerials or anything, then you can get in and out of trouble, drive under chairs, and explore the local area from a very different point of view. I do now want another one for my friend so that we can race around and set up a track and do competitive things with it, but I don't think that's only just me, to be fair. I think lots of other people will probably look at these and think the same thing. So maybe if you're thinking of getting one, maybe get more than one, so if you have an FPV buddy, you can start to race around. I've also been considering talking to my friend about maybe putting it in the back of a bush mule and flying it around, and then he can drop the cargo carrier of the bush mule when he lands it, and I can drive out. It's just the possibilities with this kind of thing is endless. Be aware, there are a couple of things to think about. The goggles are basic. As I said, if you already have a set of goggles that you like, don't bother with these goggles. Get the car and radio. The car isn't super strong. The suspension is very basic, and the majority of the parts on this thing are plastic, so they are going to break. So let's hope there's lots of spares availability and that they're going to be easy to get hold of. But I definitely wouldn't drive off something that's going to make it fall onto a hard surface. There's an excellent chance that you're going to snap something. Not a fan of the fact that the canopy needs to be removed to charge the included battery in the little car itself. It would be nice to have some kind of cutouts there. I don't think that would have been particularly unsightly, because those canopies do eventually start to give up and get a little bit fragile. They're kind of similar to the things that you get on small helicopters. And finally, there isn't the ability to pan the camera, which I was really hoping for. Having a pan servo slaved to the steering servo that would look into the corners slightly and give you a little bit more view of where you were headed would be great. But I guess that would require also a slightly more sophisticated radio. So maybe that's what EMAX and Eachine are cooking up. Maybe this is something to test the market to see whether there's an appetite for it before they further develop other products. And I sincerely hope they do, because this is just unbelievable fun for £44–45. So hopefully that's useful for those of you that have kind of been looking at this and saying, what do you think? If you're a car person who's already into RC cars and trucks, you're probably looking at this and thinking, God, that looks so toy grade. But for this kind of money, it does allow an awful lot of new drivers coming from the FPV, quadcopter and wing part of the hobby, the chance to try something like this out and potentially bring more people into this very fun part of the hobby. Thanks for watching the video and watching right to the very end. You can find me in all the usual places on social media, and if you like the video and like what I'm doing here, then hit the subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon too. If you really like what I'm doing, you can go the extra mile and become one of my Patreons for access to me directly for support, and also giveaways and regular updates too. If you're looking for particular content, then check out the playlist. I organise all of my videos into playlists, so if you're looking for a particular topic, you can find everything here. If it's called Introduction To, it's designed to start very simply and build on that simple introduction to teach you all about it. If it's called For Beginners, then that is really aimed at people who are brand new to that part of the hobby. You can also search on YouTube for anything that you're interested in using the search function at the top. So iNav Painless 360 will find all of my videos and even the playlist around iNav. So thanks again for watching, and happy flying.